In this video, I would like to talk to you about headers and analysis apps. So let's first talk about creating an analysis app. We're not going to talk just yet about what it is. We're just going to first talk about how to create it, and later on, I will tell you what it is. So to create an analysis app, whatever that thing might be, we need to first add headers to our existing scripts in ACL, in AN. So we write the script and then we add these headers, whatever those are, to the script. Once you've added the headers, we test our scripts with these headers. We test the headers to see if they work by opening the script as an analysis app. Again, we don't know at this stage of the video what an analysis app is. That's not serious. And then finally, once we have verified that the scripts work properly as an analysis app, we can then package the analysis app. Those are the 3 steps on a high level. Now, as I said, it's going to be very mysterious to you if you've never seen an analysis app before, and if you've never seen these headers I'm referring to. Right now, the slide's not going to make too much sense. But bear this in mind, and we can always come back to it later once we know more about analysis apps. Right, so what are these headers that I mentioned? They are basically keywords that we add to our script with some other options. These are the keywords or the headers we are going to use in this video. Analytic, result, param, file, data, password. Now, associated with this header result are 2 other keywords that we could use, table and log. Now, I want to go to ACL so we can try and understand what on earth I'm talking about, because so far it's still very, very vague. So we're going to make it a bit clearer gradually, a bit at a time. So you'll notice I have got 4 scripts here. I've got a main script which calls, let me just zoom in here. I have a main script which calls a script called import Excel that imports data from an Excel file. Then it calls the script called get invoices. This main script does not call the get credit note script. I would, in practice, probably want to call that script as well, but for this video, I'm not going to do that. The import Excel script, all it does is it imports some data from an Excel file, and it uses that to create a table called AR. Then I have this get invoices script. What it does is it opens the AR table, and then it extracts the invoices to a new table called invoices, and get credit notes similarly opens the AR table to extract the credit notes to a new table called credit notes. Now, I already have an AR table in this project at the moment. So if I run this get invoices script the normal way, I'm going to get an invoices table as a result. So I'm just going to quickly show you, there's my invoices table. So my script definitely works. I'm going to delete it. So if I look at that slide, the previous slide, first thing is I need to have scripts that work, and then I can add my headers. And then I can open this as an analysis app. Now I'm going to jump straight into this. I'm going to open this script, get invoices, as an analysis app. And as I said, you're not going to understand yet what on earth this analysis app is that I keep referring to. We'll get there. So to open this as an analysis app, we click on Tools, and we click on Open as Analysis App. So now I'm waiting for this thing called an analysis app to open. Okay. This is not an actual analysis app. This is something similar to an analysis app that is opening right now. Okay, so here we have this analysis app. And you'll notice these are the tables that you saw in the project that I have in my ACL program in AN. These are the folders, the tables I have. Now that's fine, but I decide I need to now run the script that extracts the invoices from the AR table. Now the idea of this analysis app for the moment the idea of it is to allow a user who has access to this analysis app to run certain scripts. That's part of the idea. So let's suppose we are the user and we are supposed to run that script, get invoices. But from this interface, this analysis app interface, there's a problem. I cannot see that script anywhere. I can see the tables, but I cannot see the scripts that are required to open the tables. So this is why we need these headers that I refer to. They make things like the scripts available to the user that might be looking at this analysis app interface. So what we know at the moment in very vague terms is that sometimes we might want to give a user scripts to be able to run, to do their tests, their audit procedures. But for some reason, we don't want them to see the AN program that we see as developers, as scripters. We want them to see only this analysis app interface. So unfortunately, the way I've done this is I've messed it up on purpose to show you, right? I've messed this up. I haven't given this user access to seeing the script. So I'm going to close this. Now, when it comes to these headers I'm going to show you, it is a very good idea to make mistakes when you are revising this. You deliberately make mistakes and you explain to yourself, okay, I created an analysis app, or I looked at viewed this as an analysis app and the script didn't show up. Then that reminds you, oh, I need a header. And which header do I need? So let me help with this header. I'm going to add the following. 2 forward slashes, very important. We need those 2 forward slashes for the analysis app to work. And I'm going to write the word analytic. Analytic means there is a script here. And more correctly, the word analytic in the context of headers means I'm making the script available to the user. So when that user goes to the analysis app the next time, they will see the script. Now, I can obviously say, oh, this analytic, the script is called get invoices. That's fine. But it's better to put a more human description. So the user is actually going to be able to run the script because we put in the keyword analytic, and they will see a more human description instead of get underscore invoices if we put such a description. So let's put the description, look for the invoices. Now, I have made another mistake that people often make. I've put the declaration, the header, to say I need to make this analytic, the script, available to the user who has access to this analysis app. But the problem is when I run this in AN, I'm going to get an error message now. Because this is not a valid command, that / analytic look for invoice is not a valid command in AN. And when the user tries to run the script from the interface, they would get the same error because this is not a valid instruction. That interface is going to run the script. So what we need to do is we always need to start at the top with the word comment. So that for the purposes of AN, if I run this, it does its test, it gets the invoices table for me, it doesn't give me an error because it ignores this. Now, the analysis app will look for this word comment and this declaration, this header. Please put the word comment in line 1 of your script and put your headers directly underneath that for the analysis app. All right, so when I created my first analysis app, it didn't go very well. The user was able to see the tables, but they were not able to see any scripts because this declaration was missing. So let me press Control S to save this, and let's go back to Tools, Open Analysis App. Now, by the way, every time you finish testing an analysis app, close it, because if you try to open this as an analysis app with one already open, there will be a conflict and you'll get error messages. So I'm going to click on Open as Analysis App. As I said, all we know so far about an analysis app is it's a user interface that we might give to some users so they can run scripts, do certain tests. They will not see the AN that those of us who develop these scripts see. So now notice they can see the table still, but they can also see a script. We gave them the right to see the script called Look for the Invoices. Well, that's not really the script's name. You know, the script is actually called Get underscore Invoices. But the user that sees this interface, analysis app, will never know this. They only see the human-friendly description, Look for the Invoices. So now this user can click on Run. And you want to do this. Trust me, you want to do this when you're developing an analysis app because you want to make sure that this works before you give this app to a user to utilize for the analysis. So I'm going to click Run. And when you click Run, there's a Stop Progress button, so you can stop this from running completely if you want. But it isn't actually running yet, so it's a bit odd, this interface. You will see there's another Run button now. We need to come to this other Run button and click on that one as well. And now, hopefully, this will run my script. Let's see what happens. Okay. So it ran it. It said, okay, it succeeded, which is good news. And what surprises me is it says there is no result for this analytic. Now, I'm going to close here. And I wonder, why is there no result? Because when I run this in ACL, I do get a result. I'll run it for you now. Again, there's an invoices table with 588 invoices. I do get a result. So what's going on? Well, when it says there's no result available in the analysis app, what it's actually saying is there's no result available for the user of that app to see. We didn't let them see it. Just as we did not let the user see the script called Get Invoices with the human description, look for the invoices. They also did not, we also need to say to them, we need to say to the analysis app, please let them see the result of this. Only if you want them to see the result, obviously. If you don't want them to see the result of this test, that's fine. You might want to use the invoices table that you created here and plug that into a different script that analyzes it further and that spits out the final result. And you want the user to see only the final result. So you might not want them to see this particular table, in which case the way I've written this script or these headers so far is fine. But let's suppose we want them to see the invoices table in the analysis app. We need another declaration. We put // we put result. But now when you say result, you've got to say what kind of result. Is this result going to be stored in a file or in a table? It's going to be stored in a table. And I'm going to write the word table. And what is the table going to be called? Invoices. Now, with this result, you can't say, oh, I want some friendly human description for the invoices table. Whatever your script calls it, you must call it that here. It looks for that exact table. So it's only this here really so far that we can give a human description to. This here, you need to stipulate the exact table name. So I'm going to press Control S, and I'm going to open this as an analysis app. I want to see if the user can still see the script to look for the invoices, and I want to see if they're able to view the invoices result after running the script. So I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to go to Open as Analysis App. Now we just wait for the analysis app to open. Right, so this is the interface our user has. Remember, we decided for some reason to let them see only this interface and not the normal AN program. So they want to run this test. They click on Run, and they click on Run again. And then they wait for the result, right? Let me just click, there we go, it's busy processing. Okay, so I'm just waiting for it to finish the processing. And it says it succeeded. And this time it says, oh, there is a table. There's this table that you can, that's with invoices in. It's got 588 records. That's the size it takes up on the hard drive. And it lets the user open this table to see the result. So the user can now click on Open, right? They can click on Open. And now we're waiting for the analysis app to open the result of this audit procedure so the user can see it. So we're just waiting for it to open. And you'll see it says your table view. What's going to happen is the analysis app will create a table that looks similar to the table you would see in AN if you ran the script directly there. So there you can see, these are all the invoices. This is what the user can see. So they were able to run an audit procedure. So this user doesn't know how to do scripting. This user doesn't know even how to use the AN interface the way we do, but they understand that they can click on buttons in this interface to run various audit procedures, and then they can click on Open to see the results. Right, let me close this analysis app. So that's what the result looks like. Now, I'm going to make a mistake, just quickly. I'm going to remove this word table. I'm supposed to say what kind of result this is. So because I'm not sure, let's say, if I've got line 3 correct or not, the syntax, I can go to this tick here. It's called Validate Analytic Header. So before I try to open this as an analysis app, I want to check if these headers are correct. So let me click there. No, the type parameter is not valid in line 3. So it's saying there's something wrong with the type. Oh, I see what it is. I forgot to say what kind of output it was. The result is a table. So now if I do that and I click on that, it says the analytic header is valid. And also, if I forget to, if I make a mistake in my declaration, so I've made a mistake again, and I don't click on that to check it, I decide I'm going to go straight to Tools. Let me just save this. I'm going to go straight to Tools and open as Analysis app. I can sit here for a very long time waiting. I can tell you now, nothing's going to happen. So instead of sitting here wondering, is my computer very slow today? Is there a problem? I should rather have just used that to see if there's an error. Okay, let me put the word result, the words table back. See. Right, and save that. Now, if something fails, right, let me make a mistake here. I'm going to delete the AR table, which means if I run the script in AN, I'm going to get an error because AR doesn't exist. And of course, when I run it from that interface, the analysis app interface, I'm going to get an error as well because you can't open a table that doesn't exist in your project. So I want to run this. Let's see what happens. I'm going to open this as an analysis app to see what happens when I run it from there. Now, of course, it just takes a bit of time each time to open this app. So the user runs this, and let's see what happens. It says it failed. Now, it failed because there is no app, right? There's no AR table. I accidentally deleted it. So if I see here, it says, look for the invoices that script a log. So I can click on open because I want to see what happened, what went wrong. And maybe I can see something useful. Okay, all these green ticks things worked. Let me scroll down to something more recent. Okay, something failed there. Open AR, table AR invalid. Oh, of course, I deleted the table. This is why it didn't work. So I can see what the problem is. Let me close my app. Now, if I want to, I can create an additional result here. I can say, I want to have another result as well. I want to send things to the log as well. Now you might say, okay, but if something goes wrong, that look for invoices log is created anyway. That's true. But it is good practice often to have a separate log as well, especially if you decide not to use the analysis app, but you rather decide to put these scripts into robots or into AX. Now, the headers we use when we are developing this thing called analysis apps, which we still don't understand 100%, those are the same headers for the most part that we use with robots and that we use with AX. So if you can create the header successfully on your laptop to generate an analysis app, to be able to open something as an analysis app, you can probably create those same headers successfully then to take these scripts to AX or to robots. Now, you might think, okay, well, if I actually want to take the scripts to AX, why should I worry about opening this as an analysis app? Well, you don't really have to, but think about this. You're sitting in an airplane 30,000 feet above the clouds, right? And you need to test to see if these headers work with AX. Well, you can't because AX is on the ground and that airplane does not have a network connection to your server, to your AX server. So why don't you just open it as an analysis app to mimic what you would or would not see in the AX environment, or to mimic what you might or might not see in robots? Because again, you can't access your robots from potentially from 30,000 feet in the air unless you've got some connection, Wi-Fi connection in that airplane. And even if you had Wi-Fi connection in that airplane, or even if you were on the ground right now, you might not be in the office, you're at home, now you've got to connect remotely and it might take a while to connect to the server. It might just be faster for you to test these headers using the analysis app, opening the script as an analysis app. If you can see the script and you can see the results, depending on what it is you want to use in AX or robots to see, then you know this is probably going to work when you actually do get a chance to connect to the AX server or when you do get a chance to connect to robots. Right, so this is what I've got so far. I'm just going to remove that result log. That's more important for AX and for robots. Okay, so far so good. Now, I did not see a script to import the credit notes. Well, the reason is there are no headers in this script. There are no declarations. So to save a bit of time, what I can do is I can copy these headers into this script here and just modify them. So the analytic, I'll rather say that human description is look for the credit notes. And the resulting table is going to be called, well, credit notes, right? It's going to be called credit notes. So if I save this now I can leave both scripts open, I can close both, I can leave one open, close the other. It's absolutely irrelevant when I open an analysis app. So I'm going to go to Tools. There it is. And I'm going to go to Open as Analysis App. Let's see what happens. Again, we're waiting for the analysis app to open, right? And now I can see both scripts. The user has access to running both of them. Okay, I'm just going to close here. Now, what I can do is, there is a problem because I don't have an AR table anymore. I deleted it, right? So if I run my analysis app, I shouldn't have closed it. Let me open the analysis app again, right? I'm going to open this as an analysis app. I'm going to run a script to look for invoices or credit notes. It doesn't matter which one. I know the one for invoices works, provided there's an AR table. So let me run that one, just to be safe for testing purposes, right? So I'll wait for this app to open. I'm going to run this script. I want to look for the invoices, click on run, and let's see what happens. And of course, I do know what's going to happen because we saw this earlier. I'm going to get an error. It's going to fail because there's no AR table, right? So I need to actually import their data. Now, I could obviously right-click on this and run it manually, but maybe I want the user to import the data from the analysis app. Now, it's not going to happen at the moment because there are no headers in here. So I'm going to say, all right, let me write the word comment. I need to write / analytic, and I'll say import the data. Right, I'll put that human description. Now, what you need to understand is, if you are going to use this data in AX, if you were developing these headers for AX or for robots, you would need to add this declaration as well. File. I have a file I need to import. That file is called, and you would put the name of the file over here. So I would need to do that if I was actually creating these headers so that this script would end up in AX or that it would end up in robots. But if I have this declaration for analysis apps, it doesn't like it. It gives you errors afterwards. So that file declaration is important to know, but only for robots and for AX. It is pointless using it for analysis apps. And in fact, the reason it's pointless, to be honest, is because the analysis app will run off the user's local machine, their laptop. So you will make sure that their data is on their laptop. There's no need to go to an AX server or robots. So I'm just going to remove that because it won't help me when I'm doing this as an analysis app. Right. Now let's see if this actually solves my problem. If I go open this as an analysis app, and if I then run the import script first and then the get invoices script, will this work? Because the import script is supposed to create an AR table. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we just have to wait again. Imagine some music in your head and tap your feet. All right. So I need to first, as the user, import this data. Otherwise, that look for invoices script will fail. So I'm going to click on Run for import the data. And I'm going to click on Run there. Let's see what happens. We're waiting. Okay, we're waiting, we're waiting. Okay. And it says it succeeded. Great. And it says there's no result. And I think, okay, well, the reason it says no result is because I didn't put the result declaration, which means I'm not making it available for the user to see. But that's not serious because this script can see it. That's what my logic tells me. It's been imported somewhere. The script can see it. So let me run the look for invoices script. Let's see what happens. So now we're waiting and it fails. right? So I wonder why it failed. Let me click on open. Let's see what happened. And we're waiting for the log. So let me go down towards the bottom. Right, that table is invalid. And I say, what? That import script said it succeeded. Yes, it did succeed. But look here, nowhere here is the AR table. There's AP transfer and AP invoice because I never put a declaration there. So let me close this. So I'm thinking, should I put the following? Should I put result and table? I could do that. Let me try. Result, table, AR. Let's try that. And let us then go ahead and open this as an analysis app. And again, we wait patiently. So when you teach yourself not so much analysis app, but these headers, constantly make a mistake on purpose and introduce one header at a time to see what happens, right? So I'm going to run the import script. I need that so that I can get the AR table. Now I'm waiting. Anyone feel like singing Elton John's The Circle of Life? All right. And it says results. There the table is available. Yay. Now the user could click on that to see the AR data. But of course, I'm not interested as using clicking on that. I want to analyze that further. So I think, great. It's got the table there. Let me click on Run Next to look for the invoices. So now I'm going to click on Run again, and then I'm going to wait, hopefully, for a result that gives me only the invoices. Let's see what happens. I would never make a mistake on purpose, right? Oh, it failed. Okay. And I wonder why. And it turns out because there's no AR table listed here. If it's not listed here under the heading data tables, it means it's not available for the script to analyze. It's got to be under data tables. By saying results, using that header result, I have made it available for the user to see after running this. But I have not made it available for the other scripts to see. So I need to close there. So I actually need this declaration, / data, and the data is a table called AR. Now, if I don't want the user to see the table, the AR table, I can remove that. So the user won't be able to see it, but I wonder, will ACL be able to see it? Now, I put data AR, but I haven't put data table AR. So I'm wondering, is my header correct or not? So let me just check. Let me check my syntax, validate that. Oh, the analytic header is valid. So it looks like for the data declaration, you just say data and the table name. So I want this data in the error table to be available for the other scripts, not necessarily for the user. If I want it to be available for the user as well to physically see, I need to use the results declaration again, the result declaration. Let me open this as an analysis app. Let's see what's going on here. And we're back to this. So there's this back and forth story. It's frustrating, but trust me, this is the best way to learn these things, and it's the best way to develop them. Just keep testing them, often one after each declaration. So let me run the import script. I want to make sure this data is in ACL, well, in the analysis app, so to speak. So notice there's no AR table under data tables yet. So I'm going to click run. Let's see what happens. It's running this. We're waiting. Okay, it says there are no results. In other words, there's no results for the user to see. But under data tables, there's AR. Now, by the way, even though it says there's no results for the user to see, the user can actually click on open down here to see what's in the AR table. But the point is it's under data tables so the scripts can see it. So let's try and run the look for invoices script again. Let's see what happens. Will we succeed this time in getting a list of invoices, or will we get another error message? Let's wait for it. Okay, this time we succeeded. And then the user could click there and see the invoices. So the result declaration makes the result visible up here for the user to see. The data declaration makes it visible down here for the scripts to see. And the user can see it just by the way as well, but that's not really relevant. So you don't need the result and the data declaration in when you create an analysis app. Now, by the way, that data declaration does not exist in robots. So if you are going to take the script to robot, don't use that declaration. It will give you an error. Because in robots, you are supposed to upload your data to the cloud. So it's already there. You don't have to say, oh, there's data that you need to go find now. It's physically there for the scripts to see. Okay, so we can't use the data declaration when we want to upload a script to a robot. It doesn't work. But with AX, we do use this declaration. All right, fine. So far, so good. Now, I'm just going to modify my get invoices script quickly. Suppose I decide the following. Okay, wait. I don't necessarily want this get invoices script to force someone to look for invoices. I want the user to actually have a choice. Do they want to look for invoices or do they want to look for credit notes? So I'm going to add a declaration here. I'm going to add the param declaration, parameter. I want the user to give me some input. And I'm going to start off by saying, okay, after param, I need to put a variable name. So whatever the user chooses, it is stored in a variable. I'll call this variable vtype to remind me that this will contain some transaction type that the user stipulates. And I need to tell this header, will this vtype variable contain character, date, numeric, or logical data? Well, it will contain character data, I and CN, for example. And then I need to give the user a human explanation of what's going on. And I will say to them, indicate a transaction type or indicate the transaction type, something like that, right? Indicate the transaction type. So this line will hopefully in the analysis app interface ask the user to tell the program, should we look for invoices, should we look for credit notes? But I can't say yeah equals IN because the user might might choose to see credit notes. So I'm going to refer to the variable vtype. So I'll save this. Now, interestingly, by the way, if I run this in AN, I'm going to get an error message. Okay, partly because there's no AR table. Sorry, let me just run this import script to get my AR table back, just to save a bit of time later on. All right, so I've got my AR table. Let me run this script again. Right? And I get an error message, vtype is undefined, because I didn't define it here. But it will work from the app because the app goes and reads those things as instructions. All right, so let me open this as an app to test it. So I'm going to go to Tools, Open as Analysis App. Now I'm just waiting for the Analysis app to open. Patience, patience, patience. It's more than a card game. All right. So I don't need to run the import data script for this exercise because I made sure that the error table was already there in my project just to save us a bit of time. So I'm going to click on Run for look for the invoices. But remember, I've modified this now. So ACL says, or the analysis app rather says to the user, indicate the transaction type. So the user decides they want credit notes. So they type CN, let's say. So we click update now. It updates the parameters in the background. Now we say run. So you can see the user's chosen CN. They can always click there and edit it if they want to. Right, click on run. And now we're waiting to see what happens. Will this give us a list of credit notes? Never mind the name of the script. We've given the user the rights to type anything at once. The table might be called invoices, but it has only 108 records, not 588. And if the user opens this, let's see what they get. Are we waiting to see what the user gets? Patience, patience. Patience is a virtue. Okay. I hope it's not the only virtue, otherwise I have no virtues. Right, so we are waiting for this. Not so patiently. And there you go. It's only credit notes because that's what the user indicated. So I'll close the analysis app. Now, this is all well and good. Sometimes it's suitable to let the user type something, like the name of a supplier or a customer or something like that. But it might be problematic, letting people type things sometimes. You want to avoid that as far as possible. So why don't we in this exercise rather say, we are going to force them to choose either invoice or credit note. We're not going to let them type. So we start with the param declaration. We want input from the user. We are going to store that in the variable, whether it's IN or CN, called vtype. That variable will contain character data. There's the message. That's fine. But before we get to the message, I need to say, I don't want them to type. I'm going to intervene here. Before they see the message, I'm going to say values. I'm going to give them values they can choose. So where this word values goes is very important. It goes just before the human-friendly message. And use this pipe delimiter right above the enter key. And I'm going to say you can choose CN or you can choose IN. Notice I've got pipes in front of the IN, in front of CN, and after IN, and between CN and IN. So let's see what this looks like now. I'm just going to save all my changes before I open this analysis app, or open it as an analysis app. So I don't actually have an analysis app yet. I'm just simulating what the user would see if I had actually created an analysis app. So we still need to learn something about what this analysis app business is all about. All right, so far all we know is it's a nice testing environment, often for AX and for robots, if you can't connect to AX or robots for some reason. All right, so I'm going to click on Run for the Look for Invoices script. And let's just see here, I'm going to click Continue. And now it says indicate the transaction type. Oopsie, I think I might have made, okay, there we go. I just had to click on that to refresh it. Sure, my computer didn't refresh automatically. I was a bit worried there. So I can click on this box, on this block here, or in here somewhere, and I will see a drop-down list. The user can choose one of those two. So let's choose invoices, why not? So now the user clicks update, and we click run. And we are now waiting to see if this gives us 588 transactions. And indeed it does. I'm not going to open it. You can see it's 588. That's the number of invoices. And I'll close that there. So that gave the user a drop-down list. It forced them to choose something. Now, in theory, there is something called multi-values, which will allow the user to get checkboxes and to choose them. I'm not going to show it to you, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't work. You will see the physical checkboxes appearing. That's the good news. The bad news is, let's say the user chooses the checkbox for invoices. The analysis app might ignore the user's choice and go and give the user credit notes. So it's pointless creating checkboxes for a user if the analysis app is going to say, I don't care actually what they chose, I'm going to do my own thing. So multi-values, whether it's for an analysis app or for robots or for AX, is absolutely pointless. This param option is very limited in terms of the user input. You can give a user, you give them a drop-down list, or you let them type something. In the normal AN program, you know from scripting that you've got lots of fancy dialog boxes with radio buttons and checkboxes and drop-down lists and fields where people can type things and project item lists, you name it, you've got it. With AX, with robots, and with analysis apps, you have a drop-down list, you have a field where they can type something in, and that's it. That is it. So you can't get fancy with that. So don't promise a client all sorts of fancy bells and whistles in the interface of an analysis app or AX or robots. You can't do it. Okay, it can't be done, unfortunately. All right, so that's how I can use the param tag. I'm going to remove this because I decide, no, I want to restrict them strictly to invoices. They have to look for an invoice if they run this script. All right, so they're going to have to look for invoices again. So far, so good. Now, if I go to this, I'm staying this in Get Invoices script for the moment. I decide I want to use the password parameter. So I'm going to write password, and I'm going to write the number 1. And I'm going to write something like enter your password. So what is going to happen in the context of analysis apps here is quite useless, to be honest. Okay, I'm first going to run this to see what happens, and then I'll talk to you about the 1. So I'm going to open this as an analysis app. Let's see what happens. It's quite useless, as I said, this password parameter in the case of analysis apps. In the case of when you connect to some service, it's actually useful. So I'm just waiting for this now. I'm going to run the script, click continue, and it says enter your password. Fine. I'm going to type something random that is not my password. Any random nonsense. That is definitely not my password. I just randomly select the keys on my keyboard in that case. And I click update. And then I click run. So even though I entered a password that I never use, I've never used in my life, I just randomly selected things, let's see what happens. It runs the script and it gives me that. So it's pointless asking telling the script, the analysis app, to ask me for a password in this case, because, well, what's the point? It's going to run anyway. I'll tell you when this password is useful. If I need to do an import via ODBC, you don't want anyone just accessing your organization's server via ODBC without proper authorization. So you would build into the analysis app or whatever, if it was going to import from ODBC, you would build this option in this header. Password 1, I'll explain the one now, enter your password. And what would happen is you would have an import script, not an OpenAR script, saying import from whichever system, and that system would prompt for a password. And that password that you typed in here would be passed into that particular script. So let me rather make it slightly less abstract. Let me move this out of the script into this here. Imagine that I wasn't importing from Excel. Imagine this was actually an ODBC import. So I'll just say ODBC, but this is obviously not what it looks like. Somewhere here, because I'm connecting to your server, I would have to write password and I would put 1. Now, Micah, but what is with this 1? You would have set up somewhere in the background a password to access your accounting system. And you would have said, right, so if your password was hello, you would have written an instruction that said, my password, hello, I'm going to associate with the number 1. So in other words, this here says to the analysis app and to AX that if you want to connect to that server in your organization via ODBC, the only correct password that should allow you in is the password associated with number 1. So in other words, in my example, the word hello. Now, if I walk past your desk and I see this here, I realize that I can only connect to that ODBC network if I use your password, but I don't know what your password is. It says password 1. Because you've hidden somewhere in the background that password 1 is the word hello, I do not know what your password is. So your password is secure, even though I saw by accident that you use password 1. Now, if you have 2 or 3 accounting systems, this is password 1 that you use to access the system. For a different system, you need password 2. So you would put 2 there and you would put 2 there. For another system, you would need 3. And similarly, then you would say password 3 and password 3. So somewhere you would first need to set up that password 1 is the word hello and password 2 is the word goodbye and whatever else it is. But in the header, you simply refer to password number 1 or password number 2 or password number 3. So no one will be able to tell from these scripts here, if they ever do get a chance to see them, what your passwords actually are. They are secure. But this header is important if you're going to connect via ODBC to a secure server. All right, now I'm just going to fix this because this is actually for Excel, right? So that's for Excel. Just going to make sure that this still works before there's a bit of a disaster. Let me just run this. Oopsie, I've still got the password here. Sorry, let me remove this password. Let me just remove this password quickly. Run it again. This is why we test things, right? Because we forget to fix things. All right, let's just see if it works normally now. Okay, fine. Now, I have this main script. This main script did not show up in my analysis app because there are no headers. So I need to come here and say, all right, comment, // analytic. I need the person to see this analytic. And this analytic, I will just say, run the audit test. So I'll give them that description. Now there's a problem here. Or is there a problem? Let's just see what happens, right? This calls only the import script and the get invoices script. I'm just going to delete this AR table, right? So I'm going to see what happens if I run the script. Now remember, the import Excel script has headers and the get invoices script has headers. Let me just see what happens. So I'm going to run, sorry, I don't want to run the main script from here. Just press Control S. Let me open this as an analysis app. Let's just see here what happens. So I'm waiting patiently. Not really. I'm just waiting. Okay, why is nothing? Okay, there we go. So let's see what the user sees. Now they see all these scripts, including the main script, which I gave the human description of run the audit test. So the user decides to run this, hoping that it will run, in this case, the invoices script and the import script. There's no AR table here, right? Let me click on run and let's choose run. Let's see what happens. Okay, there's no result for this analytic. And we go, what's going on here, right? This script, the main script, doesn't, according to the headers, create any result. So if you're going to run the main script to coordinate all these things, what you need to do is actually move all the headers to this main script. So what I need to do, for example, is I need to say, I want to move, right, just to make my life easier, I'm going to, well, actually, because of time constraints, I'm going to quickly just run this manually. I'm going to modify my main script so it doesn't actually import anything. It just doesn't get invoices. What I could do here is I would say, all right, this here I'm going to move. I'm going to actually completely delete that header from here. And I'm going to go straight to the main script. And I'm going to say, right, the user needs to see this main script. Then they need to see the result. Okay. And it's important when you start moving headers to the main script that you test this thoroughly. So because there are no headers in my Get Invoices script, the user should not see the Get Invoices script in the analysis app anymore. They should see the main script still. Let's see what happens. We go to Tools, Open as Analysis app. Now we wait for it to open. We want to see if the main script is there still with the human description. We want to see if the Get Invoices script has disappeared from that view, so to speak. We want to see if the main script gives us a result. So there's no script look for the invoices. Let's run the audit test, so the main script. Let's run this and see what happens. And there are the results. So if I'm going to run the main script, I have to put the declarations not in the other script that is going to create the actual result. So that invoices script created the result, but it won't work here. It won't show the user the result if I put it in there, if I run the main script. So you've got to be careful. So if you're going to have a main script that runs multiple scripts, all the headers relevant to the subscripts for that of that main script need to be in that main script. So it's a bit frustrating because it can become quite long, that list of headers, but that's just the way it is. Right, now, as I said to you, we have this interface that the user now uses to run their script. So they don't have the AN interface that we saw where we can write scripts. This particular user only sees this interface, and they can only see the scripts that we give them. They can run them. They can sometimes open the table to see the results. And once they open the table, let's say the user wants to open this table, they can do some basic things in this table. Now, I'm not going to show you all the things they can do. You can play with this. But once we've got this table, this result, they can do a basic filter, some basic filters. They can do some sorting. They can also draw graphs. So the user might, for example, say, okay, I want to do a filter in the customer number column. So they click on the filter icon, and the condition that they select is it must start with something, and it must start with 51. And then they can apply the filter, right? So the user is now doing some basic analysis on the exceptions, and they can sort this and so forth. Okay, I'm just waiting for this. My internet connection's a bit slow. Sorry, not my internet connection. What am I saying? My computer is a bit slow. All right. Now, in addition to doing filters and sorting, they can add a visualization, which is a fancy word of saying a graph. And some people, instead of using the word visualization, they use the word interpretation. Same thing. It's another fancy word. It just means graph. So I click there as the user, and I choose whichever graph I want. I'm going to randomly select nonsense. So, right, this graph means nothing that I'm drawing. I'm just randomly selecting things to see what on earth is going on until I get some or other graph. Let me just apply this and see if I get some graph. It's a completely senseless graph. This I'm just randomly choosing options. You can't randomly choose options. You're supposed to be careful. But the point is the user can now draw graphs based on those results. and they can save this. So they can come back into this screen later on, and they will see the exceptions with the filter on, if they saved it, with this graph. And of course, they can create another graph that looks very different from this one. So this is nice for a user that doesn't know AN. It's very intuitive for them. They're just clicking on buttons to run tests. The test descriptions are in English. They then just go and draw graphs and do very basic filters and very basic sorts and so forth. All right, so an analysis app might be convenient for a user who doesn't know AN, who doesn't have that interface. Now, they still need the AN license. Without AN on their machine, they can't do the analysis app because this uses that AN license, just by the way. Right, I'm just going to close this. So we would, as scripters, create all these different scripts, put the correct headers in the correct scripts and so forth, and then that user could use the analysis app. Now, what I've done so far in this video is I kept going to Tools, and I chose Open as Analysis app to test it. But we haven't actually created an analysis app. Let's just go back to PowerPoint. Let's see what's going on. You need to add the headers to your scripts. I did that. We need to open it as an analysis app to test it. I did that. But we haven't actually created it yet. You need to package it now as an analysis app. So let's go do this and see what's going on. So assuming, let me just make sure, okay, I'm going to remove this from the main script. I'm just going to make my life a bit easier here and your life easier for understanding. I'm going to go, all right, I'll leave that there. I'm just going to put a comment here with that declaration. All right, so comment, this is analytic. And this analytic, I'll say, look for invoices or something like that. All right, result, let me just check that quickly. I just want to make sure that I'm happy with all these analytics. I'm going to just remove that one for the moment, just to make our lives simpler for the purposes of this video. Okay, so the main script doesn't have any headers. This one has the header, it's an analytic, it imports the data. Then we want to be able to use that data for other scripts like get invoices. Okay, fine. Now I'm just going to delete this AR table from here, right? So I'm going to go to Tools this time, and I'm going to go to Package Analysis App. Hopefully I've tested this thoroughly. So I'm going to go to Package Analysis App, and I get to the screen, and it says, do you want to package, any tables? Now, if the AR table was here, I could choose it. So I would choose it if it was there, but that would just be the table out. I could choose the data that goes with it as well. And that would be in this analysis app that I create. So, but now the thing is, right, I don't have that because I deleted it, right? And I don't want to include any of these tables in my analysis app package, whatever it is. Now I'm going to change the location of where this analysis app goes. I'm just going to quickly say, I want to put it in here, and I'll give it a very simple name so I can find it easily. I'll call it My App. And I'm going to click on Save. Now, if I have anything from previous tests in this folder called My App, I'm going to be prompted to, do I want to overwrite those things? I'm just going to say yes. Right, so I'm going to click OK. And do I want to open the location? Yes. And it is here. Now look at that icon, looks like a box, a package. So let me explain by means of an analogy a bit better what has happened. There's a company called Microsoft. And at Microsoft, they have developers, people that write scripts. And they write all these complex scripts to create programs like MS Word, MS Excel. Now you and I we go buy this program called MS Excel or buy this program called MS Word. And in the old days, and to some extent still, we would go and buy a box with this program in with a CD in, or we would download the program from the web, and we would then have it on our computer like that, the installation file. So this is really an installation file. We would then double click on that installation file so that Word or Excel would be installed on our local machine. So what we've done is, as scripters, as developers, is we have created scripts, and we may or may not have put data into this package, into this program. We have turned these scripts into a program. The user that gets this will never see the scripts in the background, just as you and I will never see all the complex scripts in the background of Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word. We just install this program. So this user now copies this onto their computer, right? We would send them this, they copy this onto their computer, and they double click on it to install this program, to install this application, this analysis app, this analysis application. It analyzes data. It might have 1 script, 10 scripts, 100 scripts. It might have lots of table outs, no table outs, a few table outs, lots of data, no data, right? Depending on what we as the scripters put into this program, this analysis app we were creating. So I need to now say, where am I going to put this, install this? And I decide I want to install it in my ACL data folder, and I click OK. And I'll overwrite whatever might be there already. That's fine, because I was testing earlier. And this is what the user sees. Now you might wonder, what happened to all the other tables? Now remember, we opened it earlier as an analysis app. We didn't package it. When we package this now for our colleague or our client to use, we did not choose any tables. We did not choose any files. So they're not going to pull through. So it's important before I give this to the client that I test it the way they would, to see what would happen on their computer. So I'm going to need to import the data first. I'm going to run this. And let's hope that I get an AR table, right? Otherwise, it's back to the drawing board, fix this, and so forth. Okay, now we're just waiting to see what happens. Right. It succeeded. There's no result, but there's no result in the sense of I chose not to let the user see it, but they can actually see it here. Good news, there's a data table. Now the client, assuming we are the client, would click on run to run the invoices test. Let's see if they get a list of invoices. We are hoping they do. This would be a good sign, right? It means the app is working as intended. And yes, there are 588 records. Super. This is very good. Now, we did not package, as I said, the data, the AR table and the data in the .fil file with this app, but we did package an import script with it. So the client can run that import script first, and then the other scripts will work. Now, of course, it might be a better idea to say to the client, we are going to give you a main script so that you do it in the correct order, that you don't try and look for invoices before importing the data. We've got to think about these issues when we develop this package for the client, this so-called program. Now, the one problem here is when I look at my script in AN, my import script, I'm using a file path that exists on my machine. That is not necessarily the file path for the data on the client's machine, which means that import script is going to fail and all subsequent scripts will fail. So I should rather not refer to a file path in my script unless the client agrees to always put all their data in a very specific file path on their machines. Alternatively, I will say, right, no file paths in my scripts, but I'm going to give the client very clear instructions. I'm going to say, you need to make sure that wherever you put this app, wherever you install this app, this analysis app, this program, you need to make sure all your data for that app is in exactly the same folder so that it finds it. So you've got to decide, do you put a path, but then tell the client you must create a path called XYZ on your machine, or do you not put a path, but then tell the client wherever you put the app, make sure the data goes in the exact same folder as where the app is installed, right? So that it will still work. That's very important. Now, we might think, okay, well, why didn't we just package the table and the data with the app? Then we wouldn't have to worry about where they, save it because the data will be in the app itself. That's fine, except what happens next month when you want to run the script on the new AR data? You don't have the new AR data in this app because you packaged the current month's data as part of the app without an import script. So it's better as a general rule not to package the data. It's pointless most of the time, rather import it. Now, there might be a situation where it makes sense to package this data. So one of our colleagues, let's say inside our audit team, is going to do an audit somewhere in the bush without internet access and so on. Giving them an import script to say, connect to the server to import from there is not going to help. They can't do their audit. They can't access the server from that remote location. So we package the data into the app for them. When they get to their location in the bush somewhere, they don't need to connect to any network because the analysis app doesn't use the network. They just need to install this package on the machine. The data's there. They can run the tests and off they go. So there is potential use for analysis apps for internal auditors. My personal preference as a general is not to use them, to be honest. I would just happily import the data while I'm in the office before I go to the bush into my normal AM, then I've got the full functionality. But if a client needs this, they can use this. So this is what an analysis app is, right? But more importantly for us, we can simulate what happens in AX to a point and in robots to a point, in the sense of we can check if our headers are working correctly, most of them anyway, by creating them in our script in AN, which we have to do in any case for AX and robots, and then checking by opening it as an analysis app. So you don't have to go through this whole process of creating a package even and installing it. You just open it as if you had created one to see if you're getting the expected results. So that's where the analysis app for me is more useful, especially, as I said, if you're at 30,000 feet, then you can test most of these headers while you're at 30,000 feet without connecting to any network. Right, so getting back to PowerPoint, we had those headers, remember, that we went through. What is an analysis app? It's a bunch of scripts. It's a bunch of scripts that you package together. And it may also, the analysis app may also contain table layouts. It may not. Remember, when I packaged it, I had a choice. Do you want to include these tables? And if I choose the table name, it will include only the layout. If I want to include the table layout and the data as well, I need to choose the data as well. I didn't choose the table layouts or the data when I created mine, when I created my analysis app package, because I included an import script in there that would import the data. All right, so how do we use the analysis app? Just quick revision. The user gets the app from us. We've tested it thoroughly. We even installed it on our machine to make sure it works. Then we copy the install file that we had onto the user's machine. The user double clicks on it to install it, right? And then they can run whatever scripts that we allowed them to see. And once they've run the scripts, they'll get results, only the results we allowed them to see. And then they can do basic filters, basic sorts on there, and they can draw graphs and save graphs and so forth. Okay, and that's it for analysis apps. So I hope that was informative. I hope that you learned something about headers and or about analysis apps. And that is the last video in this particular series. It might be the first video. If you watch this first, it doesn't really matter. Each of these videos are designed to stand basically on their own. All right, I hope you have a good day.